So if you just remember, when you hear someone say it's used to measure speed, all a tachymeter does is break down seconds divided by how many seconds there are per hour to tell you how many units you can replicate in that hour. Whether that unit is 1 mile, whether that unit is 1 kilometer, whether that unit is 1 row of brick. How many seconds it took to complete that unit divided by the 3,600 seconds there are in 1 minute will tell you how many units can be replicated within that hour. So if it's a mile was your unit, then how many miles you could complete in 1 hour. If it was production, how many widgets you could make per hour, and so on and so on. Type into Google how to use a tachymeter, and most likely the only thing you will see is how to measure speed, which, while is true in the most simplest forms, the tachymeter doesn't actually measure speed. What it measures are units per hour. And it does this by dividing how many seconds it takes to do an act or travel a distance by 3,600, the number of seconds in 1 hour. With this said, you can use a tachymeter to track speed. You can use a tachymeter to track distance. You can also use a tachymeter for production. So let's break those down real quick. The simplest form and most common use for a tachymeter, and I believe the very purpose it was built for, was to track race cars. And to do that, they needed to know the distance from point A to point B. In this case, let's say 1 mile. You would start your chronograph as the car took off, and when the car crossed the 1 mile mark, stop your chronograph. And let's say that it took 45 seconds for the car to travel that 1 mile in distance. At 45 seconds, you will see there's an 80 mark there. That means the car was traveling an average rate of speed of 80 miles per hour. Now, a lot of times it will say you're going 80 miles an hour. That is not the case. It is the average speed of 80 miles per hour, meaning that around the turn you may have been going 40 miles an hour. On the straightaway you may have been going 90 miles an hour, but you had an average speed of 80 miles per hour within the distance of that 1 mile. Okay, so how would we use the tachymeter if we wanted to measure a distance? Let's say that you were in a boat, you wanted to track 1 mile. To do this, you would need to consistently travel at the same rate of speed over that entire distance. So say you were going 60 miles per hour. Start your chronograph, and when your chronograph reaches 60, stop your chronograph, you have traveled 1 mile. So what if we wanted to use it to track production? How would we do that? Again, all the tachymeter does is break down seconds divided by how many seconds there are in an hour. So it would be 3,600 seconds. So let's say you wanted to lay a row of brick or a course of brick, and you wanted to know how many courses you could get done in 1 hour. When you started to lay brick, you would simply start your chronograph. When you finished the row or course of brick, you would stop your chronograph. And let's say that it took you 30 seconds to lay that row of brick or that course of brick. You can see right here on the 30-second marker that it says 120. What that would indicate is that if you could consistently lay that row of brick over and over and over, you would lay 120 rows or 120 courses of brick per hour. So theoretically, it can also be used to measure production. That is how you use a tachymeter.